We're going to go a little out of order according to the timeline, and we're going to talk about Jackie Wilson. And Jackie Wilson was an R&B singer, maybe even well known for his showmanship and stage presence. He was originally from Detroit, and he named his primary influences as Louis Jordan and Roy Brown. Both of those guys we talked about on the timeline. Early on, in his teenage years, he was a boxer, and he had a really brief professional boxing career. I know there's a rumor that he, at one point, he was a championship boxer, and I got the Golden Gloves of, I guess it would be Michigan, but apparently that's false. Um, as far as as far as what I know, or what I've heard and read and whatnot. He was first discovered by Johnny Otis in 1951, and he eventually replaced the lead singer of Billy Ward and the Dominoes. The lead singer was Clyde McPhatter. Clyde McPhatter moved on to sing with the Drifters. And Billy Ward, he was a strict leader, and Jackie Wilson really credits him with shaping his knowledge of the music business, and his being a professional within the music business, just because of that strict sort of disciplinary, for better or for worse, leadership that Billy Ward had. And then in 1957, he signed with Brunswick Records, and he had his first solo hit, Reet Petite. It was a hit in Britain, so the British charts. And those same songwriters, who were Barry Gordy and Raquel Davis, collaborating with him in writing Lonely Teardrops, which is on the timeline. And that was his first hit in America. And one thing about that song is apparently it was originally written for Roy Brown. I don't know if Roy Brown had covered it, but it's definitely a defining song for Jackie Wilson. It really fits his voice really well. And then the late 1950s and 1960s, that really proved to be his most successful recording period, and also it really showed off his versatility, because in addition to continuing to record and perform R&B songs or for the R&B market, he also tried his hand at cabaret, which he was successful at, and he also was even more successful recording some of these blues ballads, Dogging Around, and A Woman, a Lover, a Friend. So, it was a successful and versatile period for Jackie Wilson. And of course, similar to a lot of these guys in this rock and roll era, the stage presence and just these record companies or these industry individuals really trying to take that component into consideration when, signing and putting some of these performers, in the spotlight. And Jackie Wilson is another great example, just because of his stage presence. He's known for the spins, the splits, the knee drops. He was a very very good showman and performer. The only issue with that is that he very often was criticized for being too suggestive, his dance moves, and some of that was probably just, as we've talked about, the perception of a lot of these R&B singers or performers, which includes blues and the other genres that we've talked about, as far as not only the performance but the lyrical content We can go as far as back as Charlie Patton, for his showmanship and kind of being labeled as being too suggestive, in a much different way. And during Jackie Wilson's time, there was also Elvis, and Elvis, uh, you know, was doing similar things, but of course Elvis was largely recognized as, to some degree, emulating the black performers. So in Elvis's case, a lot of times it was kind of once again redirected towards black performers as being suggestive or the source. And so Jackie Wilson, that was something that repeatedly came up in Jackie Wilson's career. But nonetheless, he was extremely popular. One of the early pop icons. Really transcended the R&B charts and was popular in pop music. At one point, when he was at